Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Red Live. Can't believe you're back again. Oh my God. Is it because I'm cute? You keep coming back because I'm cute, isn't it? It's okay. You can tell me. You can tell me.
I'm not the kind of person that you forget you met. Don't stop the music, no, cause I'm not leaving yet. Who forget the city life? I let go of my fears tonight. And we're posting on my story so everyone can share in our delight.
So today we are talking about something super special, super crazy. Oh my God. So I had an amazing first time experience. For the first time ever, I got to see my art displayed on a billboard for Black History Month.
Red was named one of the winners. The reward was the Billboard.
The Billboard really felt like the cherry on top, like really like the icing on the cake, because there's something about being able to get that level of exposure in the place where you're doing the majority of your work. Like we're native Detroiters.
Yeah. Woo! Now, this is super exciting. Not only is it super exciting for representation as a non-binary person, and as we see Black History Month literally attempt to be like eradicated, it's super important that we show up and participate this time. I have partnered with AAA, I've partnered with Pencil Lords College, and I've partnered with Mark to present a one-of-a-kind piece of artwork that really symbolizes how I view Black History Month and all of the contributions that have been made by the Black community. So let's talk about how I was able to take this small, beautiful art piece right here and turn it into a 14 by 48 feet billboard image. So first, let's just rewind a little bit. Okay, how did I get this opportunity to begin with? Because y'all know I love to chat, so we're going to chat. I participated in a live painting competition right now. If you don't know me, go check out my Instagram. Okay, go do a little bit of scrolling. It's okay. Go lurk. You can lurk, and go check out all the live mural competitions that I have participated in here in Detroit, Michigan, because I think over time I've gotten competitive and really enjoy live painting. I enjoy there being a timer. I enjoy there being eyes on me. I enjoy the pressure. And I think that I just enjoy a competitive aspect to creating, just like any person. That's why we have award shows. You see it in sports. Like, I thrive off of that competitive energy. And it's not to say that, anyone's creative process or art is better than the other one, but competing just is a way to kind of sharpen skills and see where you exist on a more foundational level with, again, your creative skills. So that's why I just love to compete. So I found out in September of last year that there was going to be a live painting competition happening right here in Detroit amongst 20 different artists, and that 3 finalists would be chosen, first, second, and third. Now there'll be some cool prizes. And there were so many great sponsors that were showing up on the flyer. I saw Marked, they were the host of the event. But then you saw Kroger, you saw AAA, you saw Pencil Lords College, you saw all these different companies that had come together to really put a competitive atmosphere together for artists. And so I was already enthralled and excited, and it took me 2 seconds to go ahead and apply. It was being hosted here at the Godfrey Hotel. Beautiful hotel, might I add. That was the first time that I was there, and it was gorgeous. Dion, who hosted the event, kept calling it sexy, and I have to say that I 100% agree. There was marble, there was very modern furniture, the drinks were beautiful. Oh, and I almost forgot some of the big main sponsors: Bombay Sapphire, okay, and Bacardi. Bombay Sapphire and Bacardi, they came through, and the drinks also were top tier. A few prizes that we didn't even know we were going to get. Like, they told us the day of, we were already all there ready to paint, what the true prizes were. And the first one, which I was astonished by, okay, was a trip to Art Basel. Now, some people might be like, okay, Art Basel, but I had never been to Art Basel before, okay? So this was crazy for me. And I was very excited to go. So I got to go to Art Basel. And that happened in December. So check out my video there. I have a whole video where I kind of sum up what that trip was like, which was mostly sponsored by Bacardi and Sapphire Bombay. So like really get into that video. But then fast forward to now, another prize that was given to us by one of the sponsors was a mural by AAA. And we kind of found out this year that it was going to be happening during Black History Month. We found out what the concept was going to be, and we had an opportunity to really pull our designs together and get everything prepared to be broadcasted this month. Just this past Monday on February 17th, the billboards went live. I had an opportunity to go check it out, go take some pictures. So I'll also include that here. And it was just a pretty gorgeous experience. And so I kind of just want to also just take you all down that process and show you what it was like to get from here to there. Right. So I really now is kind of want to talk about like the more technical things and how I literally went from point A to point B. So first things first, I use AI. I love to use AI as like a generator for just idea throwing around and brainstorming. In addition to kind of being self-referential and looking at a lot of my own paintings and things that I've already created. I'm a big recombining and rebuilding things out of symbolism. I'm a big proponent for that. And it's just how I create. Like everything I create, everything I draw, everything I paint, they're all symbols and they all have a meaning. And when you bring these symbols together, you can build larger narratives. And that's how I usually talk to the AI. Like, okay, I have a red background, red surrealist space. I want you to bring in this element, and this element. Bring me butterflies. Bring me spherical green shrubs that float in this expansive space. Bring me in my own likeness. If you have seen my social media, you see I use my likeness a lot in AI generation. So I use these things to play around with ideas, and I came up with a couple concepts that I sent to my manager and was like, so how does this look? And I have my people who I'm like, hey y'all, how does this look? Because I like criticism. I know that some of the things I'm creating are going before eyes of a lot of people, and so I want to make sure that I have even done like a little kind of testing pool of opinions and perspectives. Everyone doesn't do that. Every artist doesn't do that. Some people kind of want to, keep them things to themselves until they show. But I like my things to kind of be tested a little bit before I really put them out before eyes. And so I have no problem just sending it around to people around me. And so I'm doing this with my like concepts. So I pull in the AI concepts. I pull in my own like sketches and designs. I pull in things from previous painting. These are all elements of symbolism, as I might label them, and I build a design with the specs on Procreate. Shout out to Procreate. Procreate is like, can I just say that Procreate is the best thing ever created? And this is not, no one is asking me to say this. I just freaking love Procreate. So yeah, I use Procreate, and then that's how I'm getting a lot of my mock-ups. And most projects I do a mock-up. Like, I think it's almost crazy to work with any third-party entity or want to be paid to do any work that's going to be large scale and not provide a mock-up. People need to imagine what your idea is going to look like in real life. Mock-ups just take care of that. So I'm working with my people, my friends, my manager. I'm asking about the mock-up. And then once I have an idea together, which I will put here, which ended up being my like final thing, I take that and I save it. And I'm like, okay, this is basically my reference material now that I'm going to work from in order to build the actual painting, because I want this to be a painting. I love working digitally. I love working with AI, but at the end of the day, I also love the craftsmanship of just painting, dipping the paintbrush in the water, being on a primed canvas and seeing the texture. All those things are super important to me. So I still want that to be clear and something that I'm having the privilege of being able to display for so many people, right? Like when people are riding down the highway at nighttime, oh my God, and they get to see my billboard, I want them to be able to go, oh wow, like that's a painting that's been blown up for me. I don't want to think that they're seeing a digital rendering. So again, because of that, I kind of submitted myself to this more arduous process, and I'm okay with that because I really, really, really love the finished product. So I'm going to insert a quick video here of my time at Michael's because I did record that on video. I was trying to vlog as much of this as possible.
Okay, so I totally forgot to turn on my phone and videotape while I was inside the Blink store. Which maybe it was a good idea because I don't honestly know what the rules are for videoing and all that stuff inside the store with all the products and stuff. Who knows? But I will do a quick haul real quick in my car before I start driving. I am stationary to show you all what I received in the store. So I just got some paintbrushes because I needed some tiny detail paintbrushes because what I'm going to make is kind of small. Hold up, you probably cannot hear me. So I realized that the air was going on really hard. So what I'm saying is that I forgot to record. And so now I am recording. And I want to show y'all what I got inside the Blake store. I got this, which is like this kind of board. Use my head for comparison, size comparison. And it's just to so I can have something sturdy to paint on that can take the paint and it's not going to warp, but it also has some texture on it, so that will allow me to really like blow it up on a large billboard size without it losing like the element that it's like art and it has texture and it was made on a canvas, but it's not a canvas, it's a flat board and it's way more sturdy. I can kind of be rough with it and move quickly and not worry about like puncturing like a canvas because I can be a rough painter. So I also got some acrylic paint. I got some very dark carbon black because in this painting I want it to have a lot of drama and a lot of I want it to have a lot of contrast. So I want my darks to be extremely dark and all my lights to be extremely light, so that way when it's blown up and you can see it from far away, it's really easy to tell what's happening, and so it has the highest impact. I also got some brushes. I'm not going to take those out because they're all sealed up and pretty wrapped, and I want to keep them like that because brushes are expensive. So yeah, but I just got some really tiny detail brushes, and so yeah, next time we'll be chatting, I'll be inside my apartment.
So after I had everything, I came home and I decided it's time to get to work. It's time to get painting. And I spent a few days painting this. I played around with the composition here. I'll try to include that here, where I was talking back and forth with my manager and she's like, hey, this looks weird, or hey, you need to use your negative space better. And I was including those critiques in the actual painting. And I then had to send images of that painting off to PLC, which was the liaison between myself and AAA, and they did a great job of also offering some further critiques that had to do with like my usage of their logo and things like that. That again, we all had to be about it. Like when you're working with companies, there's just so many little tidbits that you're not gonna realize or you're not gonna know that's gonna come up that you have to be willing to kind of like roll with. Which is why you should always leave space and time for fixes, corrections, critiques. Do not wait to the last minute to submit anything when you're working with a third party, especially somebody who is sponsoring something on your behalf. Like the cost of putting a billboard up myself, I don't even want to know. I know it's expensive. So I'm just thankful that they were willing to do this for me. So once we were communicating, I realized that my file needs to be a TIFF image, and I had never made a TIFF like .tiff, before. I've done JPEGs, I've done PNGs, I've done Illustrator files, but this was new for me and I had never done anything this large before, which is why I'm assuming this is the first time I'm hearing about it, which is just I believe a compressed version of the file where none of the information gets lost. That's the best I'm going to try to do to explain what that is. I'm sure the internet can do a much better job than me, but I had to essentially turn in a TIFF file that was large enough to be blown up to the size scale that they had given us, and they had given us a scale ratio. They had talked to us about pixel sizing and DPI. So I basically went into Photoshop. Now I don't know if this is the best way to do this. Like I said, I'm just describing what I did. I basically went into Photoshop and I created a image, or a file, new creative file size that was essentially 14 feet by 48 feet, but translated to pixel sizes. And then I made sure that the orientation was correct, and I made sure that the DPI was 300 or higher. And then all the other specs I essentially kept the same because I'm still not a crazy expert with that, but I can kind of get along. So once I had that, obviously this was a really huge file, as you can imagine. I'm sure I could have scaled it down, but I did not know how to do that. So I tried to just be as one-to-one and straightforward as possible with how I was doing this, as not to make any mistakes and prolong the process. So basically, now I have that. Now I have the file, and this is just a blank image board. So I take my digital camera and I take a raw image of this. So then I take my digital camera. I have a Canon, I believe it's a Canon Rebel T7. Yeah. And I take a raw image of this. It's important that it's not a JPEG, it's a raw image because from what I understand, mind you, I am not an expert, but from what I understand, a raw image can be blown up and without the pixels getting all blurred and weird and wonky to where you can't see it. And like I said, we're blowing this up to Billboard size. So I need this image and file to be as big and complicated as it needs to be. So that way, when they get to blowing, you okay. So that way, when they make it big, they when they make it big, you heard. Okay. So anyway, when they make the billboard what it needs to be, it actually looks good and clear. And as I mentioned earlier, I really wanted to capture the texture of the canvas. Like you probably can't see this here, or maybe you can, but there's actual like texture on this. Like you can see that this is not just flat. And I wanted that to come across when the billboard was being presented. So I took the raw image file, which is going to end in a CR2. It's like instead of .jpeg, it's a .cr2, and you can really only open it in certain softwares like Photoshop. And so I brought it into Lightroom. I played with the exposure and the contrast and the vibrance and the highlights and the shadows and all that stuff to make sure that it looked how it looks in real life. Also wanted to adjust for the backlighting of the billboard because the billboard is going to be a screen, and at nighttime it is going to be very, very, very bright, probably brighter than the lights that are just even on my computer screen. So I kind of took it a little darker than I would have just to make sure that it was bright, especially in the daytime. Like I'm imagining those lights are probably pretty bright to ensure that cars are still seeing them in the daytime. So like I brought it down a little bit. I don't know again if that was the right thing to do, but I really loved the end result. So I don't know. Give me advice in the comment. Maybe there was a better way to have handled that. So once I took my SD card, I put it into my computer. I took that CR2 image and I brought it into that blank image board that I had already opened in Photoshop, and basically moved it around until it was looking exactly how it was looking on my canvas. Now, ratio wise, I did a really good job because it fit into the box pretty perfectly, and I had to use the ratio that they gave to us in order to figure out how big to make this box. That's why you see this random rectangle in the middle of this square, because I couldn't actually find a canvas obviously that was that size. I had to get close to that size and then measure it out as close to it can get without it going outside of the canvas size, which is what I did here. Still came out beautifully. It came out beautifully. I saved the file. I saved it into a compressed TIFF file as was suggested. I sent it out. I ended up having to use Google Drive, which ends up happening with a lot of large files because you cannot just directly email them over. So you end up sending someone a Google Drive link for them to open up and download the file into their own computer, which was pretty easy for them to do. I was able to kind of move on from that part of the project because making sure that they had the correct filing was pretty stressful. But once that part was finished, I got to just move on to now what was the press release going to say, what was my description of the piece, And yeah, so if you want to know more of those details, I guess I can kind of share those here in the post part of my YouTube. If you're curious to know how I describe and how I talk about my artwork, but that's pretty much the process. And then I was just waiting for them to give us the go ahead and know that it was up and running. I did have some corrections that I had to make. I originally put the logo of AAA included in my design, but I believe this may have gone against some of their branding guidelines, so I was asked to change that. Not to mention they had already adjusted for that in the final design and had put the billboard up with all of their logos, which I'm sure you'll see here in the final photo. So yeah. So let me know what other questions you have. I just really thought this project was pretty cool. Oh, before I move along, I also want to just take a moment to just talk about the design itself and explain what you're actually seeing here. So essentially, the description, I would love to read it for you verbatim, but let's just be raw with it. Why not? Why not? So I basically, what you see here is my likeness. Aren't I cute? You're seeing my likeness as I marvel at some of the contributions that Black people have made to society. And I would say American society, but many of these inventions have gone past American society and are globally normalized inventions, right? We have the traffic light, we have a hairbrush, we have the rolling pin, we have the fire extinguisher. All these things are kind of floating on in this, like, piece of land that I'm holding. And you also see the city of Detroit, because I believe the city of Detroit is my absolute favorite city. It's where I love to be majority of the time, and it's also a city that I've seen that has been highly forged and highly brought to its popularity in terms of music and fashion and art because of the predominantly Black community that exists here and has chosen to really marry themselves to this city and ensure that it thrives, right? So there you see all of these beautiful things, but then off to the side, I know y'all see it, we have a pencil sharpener. Why would I put a pencil sharpener? Because a pencil sharpener is also another contribution made to society by Black people. That's right. Put that fist up in the air. I know you feel it. Okay, so and as an artist, not only is that important, but it's also important because all of the sponsors who came together to make this mural, because all of the sponsors who came together to make this possible all have a vested interest in education, right? And that is what this metaphor of sharpening really means. We must continue to sharpen ourselves and educate ourselves. And maybe that doesn't mean that you go with mainstream versions of education. Maybe it doesn't mean that you go to some university or college, but it does mean that you continue to sharpen yourself and look for mentors or seek out information that will help you better your craft, or seek out apprenticeships or whatever is going to get you to that next level of mastering the things that you actually care about, especially as it pertains to a creative lens, because we're all about creativity on this channel. So yeah, that is what this image is supposed to truly symbolize. And as you see, I have these spherical green shrubs, which are also pretty much a staple in all of my paintings. And what those symbolize, as well as the butterflies, is just the type of transformation that you get from that constant habit of nurturing yourself. I said in my description of this that education or learning or growing, it's not a overnight phenomenon, right? It is something that happens through nurturing and consistent habits. So you have to be dedicated to it. And that's a continual sharpening, a continual challenging of yourself to be better, do better, try harder, go further. Like, these are how we become better people. And at the end, like you see in a lot of these orange butterflies I have scattered here, you get a very beautiful transformation at the end. And not to be super cliche and weird, but that's what this project has been for me. It has been transformative. There were so many stages where I thought, oh my God, I cannot do this. I've never done this before. I'm too confused. What is a TIFF file? Oh my God. And I had to Google so many things. But at the end of the day, I'm so much more equipped than I was before. And the next time, because this definitely will not be the last time, the next time I have an opportunity to show my work on the billboard, I'll be that much more prepared, and it will be just like that. And that's just like every challenge or hurdle I've come across. And take that as a lesson for what you're doing in your own creative practices. These hurdles need to be here. these kind of missteps and little mistakes and challenging areas, they need to be there to actually grow you as an artist. So that way, when you do get these huge opportunities, you know how to make the most of them. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to get off my soapbox. But I appreciate you all for taking the time to listen to me. Again, go check out my Billboard. Thank you to every single person who made this opportunity possible. Thank you to Marked. Thank you to AAA. Thank you to Pencil Lawrence College and every single sponsor that was a part of that initial live competition. Because honestly, you guys are changing lives out here. Like, let's just say it. I'm a Black, queer, non-binary artist here in Detroit, Michigan, and my art is on a billboard, baby. Like, you can't tell me nothing right now. Like, put your fist up in the air. Okay, I'm being silly at this point, but yeah, no. Thank you for watching. I had to upload some content, and please come back. All right, I will be uploading another video pretty soon. I'm still doing my 5-part creative branding series. In the next video, I'm going to get into some examples of some people in marketing and branding who have been able to take from their own lived experiences and what they know about themselves and actually produce pretty provoking branding by just using the basic elements and principles of art. So we're going to get into that next video. Okay, so stay tuned, stick around, subscribe, like, hit that little bell button so you know when I'm posting. Okay, and take anything you can from this story, because your art deserves to be on a billboard too, and I want to see it. All right, so that's all I have for today. I hope you have a red day, a red week, a red month, a red year. Peace out.